Hey everybody, what you see here is a 1991 Casablanca, California Zephyr. This fan I got off of Facebook Marketplace about 4 years ago. It's in snow white. The light kit and the glass and the hang true are not original, but the hang true would have been the same. The light kit I got it with was like this cone light kit. It's really hard to describe, it's like Casablanca's like not globe fitter. It's like with the twist on glass. It's like the dome almost, and then you turn the glass and it locks into place. It was like a cone almost, and I really wish I still had that light kit, but you know, little me was not very good at taking care of my stuff, so you can only imagine what happened to that. But other than that, it's managed to stay in somewhat good shape. The motor in this fan is not original. I got that out of I think, what was it? It was a Panama that I parted out. So it has the board and the motor from a Panama and the flywheel. But everything else is original, except the hang true and the light kit. Stand up here real quick. We'll have a close up. I did also take the Panama's tag out, or I took the Panama's tag out and put the original switch housing in. So, from afar, you couldn't really tell it's not original. Hang shoe has definitely seen better days, just a spare I had lying around. That little top piece right there underneath the ball is separate from the top plate of the housing, so it's a 3-piece motor housing, which is kind of cool. Obviously, it's not perfect condition. It's got some blemishes here and there. I think that's just dirt, so I'll have to clean that off. There's also no vent screens, but you can really tell because the top piece of the housing kind of keeps any light out, so it doesn't really shine through like it normally would. So I'm sorry if it's kind of low. I'm just sitting in a chair so I can hold the phone more steady. So over here is the W11 it's on. This is the W11 I got this fan with. And I've used this on millions of different fans, and it's been several different applications, but it's back reunited with its original fan. So I'll do demo mode for you. So those beeps indicate that the fan has been programmed into demo mode. While the fan runs through its paces, I will explain a little bit of the history of the Cali Zephyr. So in about 1989, Casablanca started producing more contemporary models, trying to stray away from their, more traditional models like the Four Seasons and the Zephyr. So they started making these, and they made a few other models. Most of them initially were offered with Comfort Touch, but IntelliTouch was added, or vice versa. So this is one of the earlier contemporary models they started to make, being introduced, like I said, in about the late 80s. I think it made it to about, I want to say 1995, 1994 when they got discontinued. So not really a very long lifespan, but they did sell in pretty decent numbers. All right, so that's demo mode, and now I'll do light dimming. Let's turn that back on. I'll bring the fan to a stop real quick. Sorry, it's kind of hard. I got about 9-foot ceilings, and even though I'm 6'2", it's kind of hard to reach. All right. So here's the light. As it gradually increases in intensity and bring it all the way up to full. I think these are, I want to say 30 watt, 45 watt incandescent light bulbs in this. They're all the same bulb. I just don't remember the wattage. I bought these years ago. All right, turn the light off, and let's turn it to speed 1. So, as I previously stated, I got this fan in about, I want to say, man, this was a while ago, 2021. So there was a listing near me for a Casablanca Cascade. And I messaged the seller. I'm like, hey, is this still available? She's like, no, I'm sorry, someone is coming to buy it, but I have another fan. And then she sends me a picture of a, what's it, Hampton Bay Chatham. Like, I'll pass. I'm not really interested. And then she sends me, would you be interested in this? And then she sends me a picture of this fan. I'm like, oh yeah, I'd definitely be interested in that. So I met her at some gas station, and the rest was history. And it came with everything, with the control, the hang true, everything. I didn't really keep the best track of my stuff, and I still don't really, but it's better than it was. Uh, so I just had to piece it together. I didn't want this fan didn't like looking at it just sitting around in parts. I wanted it to put it back together. And it's not like I really need a Panama, so I'd rather put that motor to good use. So this was recreated, you could say. Turn to speed 2. I think almost this exact fan with a different light kit was featured in a Comfort Touch promotional video in the late 80s. It had some sort of like bowl light kit on it, but it looked just like this with a different light kit. I thought it was kind of cool. It was a snow white Cali Zephyr, and now I got a snow white Cali Zephyr in my possession. So it's cool that, I see the same fan in tapes from almost 40 years ago, and to see it still looking great in 2025. Honestly, this design really hasn't aged that badly. I could definitely see a fan company putting this design back into use, and there's still knockoffs that were inspired by this design, at least into the late 2000s, still using this kind of design. One big example of a copy of this was the Hampton Bay Reddington. The original one almost looked just like this, same brackets and vents and everything, just a lot cheaper. And they saw we kind of went different as time went on. Speed 3. And then, I'm trying to think what else to say. I'm used to doing, variable speed or 3-speed. And teletouch is not something I usually film. So I think these were offered in a few different finishes. It was snow white, antique brass, polished brass. I don't think they made them in Verde. I think I've seen one in chrome, but I'm not too sure about that. There's catalogs out there with, pictures of every finish they made. This one's from 1991, so if you want to see what else was available at the time when this was made, I think there's a 1991 catalog floating somewhere out there on the internet. Speed 4. I think that this model was, as I previously said, I'm kind of repeating myself now. This model was rather successful, I'd say. As you see, a lot more of the brass ones being sold, but I think it was a pretty decent seller compared to the other contemporary models. I see a lot more of these, and I see, Casablanca Marquise. I don't know how to do the plural version of Marquise. Or I think San Marino's are about even with these, and I have a 1994 Constellation. I didn't even know that model existed until I found that one. I still got to do a video on that. That one's also a Snow White and teletouch fan. It's pretty much just like this, but with slightly different badges and a difference in the motor and the bottom plate. Let's do speed 5. But I think, you know, most of them kind of went away in the mid-90s when Hunter started getting involved with Casablanca. They really only kept the, you know, the really big sellers like the Ventura and the Panama, and they just made a bunch of new models instead. Let's turn it to high. So here's full blast. Bearings are not perfect. They're a little, I don't want to say stiff, but they make a little bit of a noise, like a whirring noise. If you, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's just, they're probably just a little dry. But they don't really. It's not like I can't sleep with the fan on. The blades do kind of click a little bit. I think it's of the nature of the high gloss. You know, it kind of cracks. So I'll probably just have to put some washers on the blades. I'll reverse it too, so why not? I think it's cool that you can literally do everything from the wall. Like if you can reverse the fan. And IntelliTouch is a very genius system. It really hasn't been perfectly copied ever. Like, you know, we got remote controls, but, you know, those are easy to lose, or, you know, they replace them. I mean, IntelliTouch, you know, I don't really think it's been perfectly replicated. Even, you know, there's a bunch of fan companies in the 80s trying to copy it, and it never really worked out as well as IntelliTouch did. They just never really sold, or they all went bad and you never see them anymore. Turn it off. So yeah, just IntelliTouch was a very successful system, and I don't know if we'll ever really see something quite like it ever again, but it's cool to just, you know, there's still a lot of perfect, nice examples of it still out there in service today, whether it be in, you know, just a normal application, or it's nice just to have it. It's a piece of history, if you ask me. Stop the fan now. So yeah, that's been a 1991 Casablanca, California Zephyr ceiling fan. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys later.